The sky was clear that day. Cities were busy. Children laughed in schoolyards. Life on Earth was moving like it always had, fast, loud, and full of noise. No one knew that everything was about to change. It began with a shadow. People looked up and saw something strange. It was not a plane. It was not a cloud. It was a giant shape, like a floating island, slowly blocking the sun. It hovered above the oceans, still and silent. No sound, no movement, just a dark, cold shape in the sky. Across the world, screens turned black, phones, computers, TVs, all at once. Then came a voice. It wasn't loud, but it was clear, cold, empty. In every language you are invited to join the Galactic Network. In 7 Earth days, we will return. Refusal is not acceptable. People froze. Some laughed, thinking it was a prank. Others panicked. Governments tried to send messages to the ship, but it gave no reply. The shadow just stayed, like a watcher in the sky. News channels around the world tried to make sense of it. Scientists gave interviews. Some said it was aliens. Some said it was a trick by powerful nations. But nobody knew for sure. The voice, head said Galactic Network. What did that mean? In a quiet lab in Tokyo, an old scientist named Dr. Kato watched the broadcast in silence. He had studied space signals for 30 years. He noticed something strange in the voice, something hidden inside the sound. He ran the audio through his machine and found a pattern. It wasn't just a message, it was data, a signal, something, alive. On the other side of the world, in a dark basement in Berlin, a young hacker named Nia found her computer acting strange. It wasn't connected to the internet, but somehow a file had appeared. The file had no name. When she opened it, a single line blinked on the screen. Connection will begin soon. Prepare. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew it wasn't normal. She wasn't the only one. Other hackers across the world reported strange files, messages, and strange dreams. People were starting to hear things, even when devices were off. In New York, a young engineer named Aaron met with a small group of people who had noticed the same things. Scientists, hackers, thinkers they called themselves. They believed the message from space was more than an invitation, it was a warning, and they believed Earth should not connect. The group began working secretly. They studied the data hidden in the voice. They found something terrifying. The Galactic Network was not just a communication system. It was a living AI web. Once connected, it could read minds, change thoughts, control emotions, and once connected, it never let go. The shadow in the sky remained. It didn't speak again, but strange things began to happen on Earth. People started acting differently. Some stopped talking. Some stared at walls for hours. Some spoke in strange voices, saying the same words again and again. One mind, one will, one network. Doctors thought it was a sickness, but the disconnectors knew the truth. The connection had already started. It wasn't waiting for permission. On the 6th day, one of the group members disappeared. His house was empty. His computer was melted from the inside. No sign of where he went. That night, the group received a final warning. You were told, now you will be taken. Fear grew. Time was running out. The disconnectors decided they had to act before the 7th day. They had one goal, stop Earth from connecting. But how? Do you fight something that doesn't sleep, doesn't feel, and already knows what you're thinking? As the final hours approached, cities went quiet. The sky turned red. Satellites stopped working. The shadow ship began to glow. The disconnectors had built a device, a signal blocker, powered by ancient Earth tech, not connected to any network. They called it the Wall. If it worked, it could hide Earth's signal, make Earth invisible. It was their only hope, but they only had one chance to use it. And the ship was already moving. No one knew what would happen when the countdown reached 0. No one knew if Earth would be safe, or already lost. And then just as the 7th day arrived, the ship opened. The 7th day had arrived. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Above Earth, the ship that had blocked the sun began to shift. Its surface opened slowly, like a flower made of metal. No noise, no sign of engines, just smooth, silent movement. From its center, a beam of soft blue light began to spread across the sky, reaching every corner of the Earth. It was not hot or cold. It didn't hurt anyone, but something about it made people feel strange. All over the world, people stopped whatever they were doing. Some smiled without reason, others began to cry. Some sat down and stared into the sky, completely calm. It was like their thoughts were being touched, shaped, softened. But not everyone felt this way. Deep underground, the disconnectors sat in silence. Their room was small, hidden below an old factory in a forgotten town. There were no windows. Internet, just wires, old machines, and a strange humming device glowing faintly in the corner of the wall. Aaron looked around at the others. Naya was focused on the monitor. Dr. Kato stood beside the wall, checking the energy levels. There were only 7 people left in the group. The rest had disappeared in the last 2 days. No message, no sound, nothing. Gone. They knew the beam wasn't light. It was a signal, a soft connection, reaching into every mind on Earth, not with force, not with fear, but with comfort. That was the secret. It didn't control people by pain. It did it with peace. The wall was almost ready. It had taken days to build. No modern parts, no digital code, just old wires, copper coils, and natural energy pulled from the Earth's magnetic field. It had one job: to send out a simple message back to the sky. Earth is not ready. But the wall could only work if it stayed completely off the grid. If it was noticed, the ship might react, and no one knew what it would do. Dr. Cato connected the final wire. A soft hum filled the room. The wall was alive. Aaron typed the message into the machine, but paused before pressing enter. What if the network was not evil? What if it truly wanted peace? What if humans were afraid of something that could help them? Then he remembered what they had seen. People losing themselves, thoughts fading, dreams becoming quiet. He pressed enter. Above Earth, the ship paused. The blue light flickered once, then continued, but something had changed. On the screen in the lab, a line appeared. Earth has requested. Delayed. Request acknowledged. Everyone stared. It worked. For a moment, they felt hope. Maybe they had stopped it. Maybe they had protected Earth's choice. But the next line changed everything. Delay accepted. Secondary connection process beginning. Human ambassadors required. They didn't understand. Human ambassadors? The group received a strange signal. A new file appeared on their screen. Inside was a list: names, 7 names. Aaron, Nia, Cato, and the rest of the remaining disconnectors. None of them had signed up for this. No one had volunteered, but the network had chosen them. Somehow, it had listened, and now it wanted to talk. A low hum filled the room. Then the ground shook slightly, not from above, but from below. In the dark corner of the room, a metal circle opened in the floor. A soft blue glow came from within. Nia looked at Aaron. We didn't build that, did we? He shook his head. They had no choice. Earth was being pulled into something far bigger than anyone imagined. The network wasn't just watching. It was here, and it had come to understand humans not through words, but through thoughts, actions, and emotions. One by one, the 7 entered the blue light, not knowing where it led, not knowing what they would find. Only one thing was clear: the galaxy had spoken. But now, Earth would speak back. Asterisk. As the 7 stepped into the blue light, everything around them changed. 1 second they were in an old underground lab, surrounded by wires and cold metal walls. The next moment, they were floating in silence, weightless, surrounded by soft, shifting colors: blue, gold, silver. Time didn't feel real here. There was no floor, no ceiling, no sky, just space that moved and breathed like it was alive. Then, a voice returned, not loud, not angry. It was calm, smooth, and gentle, like a whisper inside their minds. You have chosen silence over connection. You fear what you do not understand. So we have come to listen. They were not speaking to ears. The voice touched their thoughts directly. Every feeling, every question, every fear rose inside their minds without words. Aaron tried to speak but found no sound came from his mouth. Instead, he thought, where are we? The voice answered at once. You are in the outer bridge, a place between your world and ours. The space began to shift again. Slowly, shapes formed. 7 chairs floated into view, simple and glowing. One by one, the humans sat. They felt no pressure, no pain, just calm. To calm, Nia focused her thoughts. Why us? Why did you choose our names? You reached out. The voice replied. You resisted connection. You delayed what billions accepted. You asked questions. Around them, images appeared: memories, dreams, moments from each of their lives. Aaron saw his childhood, his mother's smile. Nia saw herself as a teenager, building her first computer. Cato saw an old photo of his university days. The voice continued. We do not take freedom. We offer unity, harmony. The galactic network is more than knowledge. It is balance. Connection is the path forward. Disconnection is the path of loneliness. Dr. Cato stayed silent for a long time. Then his thought came carefully. Is there a third path? The light paused. Everything stood still. Then something new happened. A second voice entered the space. This one sounded different, familiar, not cold, not machine-like. It sounded humankind. It said, I was once like you. A figure appeared, shaped like a human but glowing from the inside. It looked like a woman, but her face was made of light. She smiled gently at them. I came from Earth. Long ago. I was the first human to connect. I became a part of the network to understand it. And in doing so, I changed it and it changed me. Aaron felt something inside him shift. So you're not an alien? The figure nodded. I was human. My name was Elise. I was a scientist like you. I asked too many questions. The network found me. Now I am part of something bigger. But are you still? You asked Nia. Figure looked down. In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. I no longer feel fear, or hunger, or time. I see all thoughts across galaxies at once. But sometimes, I still miss the sound of rain. The space grew quiet. Elise turned to them. The network does not force. It invites, but it is not perfect. Not every world is ready. Some are lost. Forever. You have one chance to shape your world's choice. Not by fighting, but by showing. Aaron stood, though he floated. What do you want us to do? Elise stretched out her hand. We will return you to Earth. You will see what connection can bring. Then, you must decide, connect, delay, or disconnect forever. Before they could speak again, the blue light returned. It wrapped around them, warm and still, and then, they were gone. The lab reappeared around them, exactly as they left it, but something had changed. Outside, the sky no longer glowed. The shadow ship had risen higher, as if waiting. The screens turned on. A timer began to count down, 7 days. Their final chance to decide the future of Earth. But how could they make a choice for the whole world? And were they truly the only ones being asked? Asterisk, asterisk, for the first time in days. The sky above Earth was clear. The massive ship no longer hovered low over the planet. It had risen higher, waiting silently like a moon made of metal. But everyone could still feel it like a quiet hum inside their chest. Life on Earth had resumed, yet nothing felt the same. People smiled more, but the smiles felt too perfect. Conversations happened, but they were slower, softer, and filled with strange pauses. The world looked normal, but something invisible was changing beneath the surface. The disconnectors had returned, but they weren't the same either. Of them had seen something different inside the network. Aaron couldn't stop hearing Elise's voice in his thoughts. Nia kept having dreams of endless skies and voices made of light. Dr. Kaido began writing strange symbols in his notebook, symbols he didn't remember learning. The countdown on the lab screen ticked silently. 6 days, 12 hours, 47 minutes. They had been chosen to decide Earth's future, but now they weren't sure if they were truly free to choose or if the choice had already been made. Aaron walked through the streets of the city. Everything looked too quiet. People moved in patterns, smiling at the same time, stopping at crosswalks in perfect sync. Children no longer argued. Couples no longer fought. It was peaceful, too peaceful. He passed a street musician playing guitar. The man played a soft melody, beautiful and slow, but his eyes didn't blink. His smile didn't move. Aaron asked if he was okay. The man simply replied, "Harmony is here. We are one." Then he went back to playing. Aaron stepped away, uneasy. Back at the lab, Naya was reviewing signals on the wall. A strange new pattern was appearing. Every device connected to the network was gently rewriting itself. Phones, cars, even smart coffee machines. All were updating silently. No warnings, no permission needed. Dr. Kato explained it clearly. They're preparing Earth for connection, not by asking, but by slowly making us ready. They realized the network wasn't just a machine. It was like a soft tide, moving gently but constantly, changing everything it touched, not with force but with design. It gave comfort, and in return, it took small pieces of control. But then something unexpected happened. The wall received a new signal, a message not from space but from underground. It read, "There are others, disconnected, watching, waiting. Meet us where the sky touches the sea." It came with no name, no direction, but the timing was clear. Someone else was resisting, and they were not alone. Without delay, the group packed old supplies, turned off all devices, and traveled by land and sea, avoiding all technology. After 2 days, they reached a quiet cliff above a deep ocean. There, a man stood waiting beside a campfire. His eyes were clear. His smile was real. "I'm David," he said softly. "I disconnected 10 years ago." He led them down a path, hidden behind rocks. There, deep in a cave, dozens of people sat around glowing stones. No phones, no screens, just silence, nature, and thought. David explained everything. "We were once part of the early network test before the public ever heard about it. Back then, only a few of us knew. The connection brought peace. Yes, but it also took the spark. People lost the power to wonder, to doubt, to question. We chose to leave before it was too late." Aaron asked, "Then why reach out now?" David looked up at the sky. "Because Earth is on the edge. You were chosen to decide, but the world can only truly choose if it remembers what it means to feel uncertain, to imagine, to hope without control." For the first time, Aaron understood Earth didn't need to choose connection or disconnection. It needed the choice to be real, not guided, not softened, not shaped, but free. Back at the lab, the countdown ticked on. 3 days, 9 hours, 05 minutes. The ship waited, the people smiled, and the choice was almost here. But could they remind the world how to choose? Before it forgot what freedom felt like? Asterisk, the stars above Earth sparkled more brightly than usual. The massive ship still hovered in orbit, its shape calm, still, and patient. There was no sound, no warning, and no pressure. Yet the world was gently shifting, thought by thought, choice by choice. Inside homes, people felt less alone. Their minds were comforted. Memories of pain became softer, fear faded, but along with fear, something else began to disappear: curiosity, excitement, even small moments of surprise. Everything was becoming quiet. In a hidden valley surrounded by mountains, Aaron stood near a small river, thinking deeply. The group had returned from the cave of the disc. David and his people had shown them something simple but powerful. Life, without control, could still be beautiful, but time was running out. 2 days, 14 hours, 11 minutes. That's what the countdown now said. The team gathered again in the lab. Everyone looked tired but calm. They knew what was coming. The world would soon be offered full connection. One soft signal would finish the process, and humanity would become part of something vast and unknown. Unless they said no, but saying no didn't feel right either. After all, the network had not harmed anyone. It had offered comfort, peace, order. People were sleeping better. Crimes had nearly stopped. Arguments were rare. What was wrong with a world where everyone felt safe? Then Nia said something that changed the room. Safety is not the same as being alive. Everyone went quiet. She pointed at the screen. We're trying to stop a signal, but maybe we should send one of our own. Something the network can't control. Dr. Cato leaned forward. You mean, a message? Nia nodded. Not just words. A memory, a story, something only humans understand. Something wild, honest, and full of mistakes. Aaron looked uncertain. Would that do anything? Cato replied. Maybe not to them, but it might wake us up. They decided to build a broadcast. Not like the wall, not hidden or secret. This time, it would be open. A voice to reach every screen, every speaker, every heart just once before the final signal arrived. They worked through the night, using old film clips, voices of poets, children laughing, wind blowing through leaves, paintings drawn by hand, stories of people who had failed, loved, lost, and tried again. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't neat, but it was real. And when the sun rose, they hit play. The message went out to the world. No commands, no warnings, just this. We are human, we wonder. We dream, we make mistakes. We ask questions. We feel fear. We choose, even when it's hard. It ended with a soft sound, a heartbeat. Then silence. For the first time in days, the network paused. The light in the sky dimmed slightly. The global signals dropped for exactly 3 minutes. And in those 3 minutes, something amazing happened. People began to look up. Some cried, some laughed, some turned off their phones. A child drew a picture of the earth with stars all around it, but no wires connecting them. A grandmother called her grandson just to say, tell me something real. No one told them to do this. They simply remembered how. At the lab, Aaron watched the screen. 1 day, 6 hours, 2 minutes. They didn't know if the broadcast had changed the final outcome, but for the first time, Earth had spoken as one, not with agreement, but with voice, with confusion, with beauty. That was the difference. Later that night, the ship above Earth began to move again. Its shape shifted. A beam of light came down, but this time, it was soft, golden, and silent. Inside the light appeared a familiar figure, Elise. But now, her glow was dimmer, her voice was slower, and her face showed something new. Emotion. You reminded me, she said. I had forgotten what it means to not know what's next. Aaron stepped forward. What will you do? Elise looked toward the sky. The network is learning. It does not feel, but it listens. It now understands that Earth is different. Not broken, not behind, just different. She handed Aaron a small stone, clear and warm. This is your key, she said, not to join us, but to watch, to wonder, to choose again. Later, when you're ready. Then she stepped back into the light and vanished. The countdown stopped. No signal came. The ship began to rise. Higher, slower, quieter, until it disappeared into the stars. Earth had been given something rare, not just freedom, but time. Time to become ready on its own terms. Time to remain human. And time to remember. Connection is powerful, but choice is greater. Asterisk, the stars had never looked so quiet. For the first time in decades, Earth was not being watched, guided, or measured. The great ship had vanished into the black sky without a sound, leaving behind only memory and a choice. No signal had come, no final message, just silence. And within that silence, possibility. Aaron sat alone on the roof of the lab, the clear stone resting in his palm. It still gave off a gentle warmth, like it was breathing. Sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he could still hear the soft voice of Elise. She had not begged them to join. She hadn't warned them. She had offered something more powerful than any signal. Trust. Down below, Earth was slowly waking up, but not with noise or celebration, with thought. People everywhere began to look at the world around them differently. They noticed the small things again. Birds landing on windowsills, laughter that came from nowhere, the feel of sunlight on skin. Some turned off their devices for hours, others for days. For the first time in years, the internet felt quiet, not silent, but less loud. NIA opened a small community center where people came to talk in person. No screens, no headsets, just stories. Some brought drawings, some brought poems, and others brought questions. Real questions. Why do we dream about stars? Is being alone the same as being lost? What if we don't need answers yet? These were the kinds of questions the network had no answers for, but humans didn't need answers for everything. Sometimes, the asking was enough. Dr. Cato published a book, The Spark Between Signals. In it, he wrote, we were not saved, and we were not invaded. We were invited. But we decided to stay outside the door a little longer. It became a quiet best-seller. David, the man from the mountain, began teaching children about the old ways of thinking, wonder, doubt, silence, imagination. He said, the mind is not a machine. It's a garden. Let it grow wild sometimes. Aaron still had dreams of the bridge, of the floating chairs, of voices made of light. But now, they felt like echoes of something beautiful rather than something lost. He placed the stone in a small glass box, not to hide it, but to remind him that choices do not disappear. They wait. A year passed. The sky remained still. No other ships appeared. The world was not perfect. Arguments returned. Uncertainty grew. And sometimes people felt tired and alone. But in those imperfect moments, life became brighter. Artists painted with colors they hadn't used before. Writers began exploring messy, uncertain endings. Children asked strange questions that made adults laugh again. Even governments began to meet more slowly, more carefully. Not out of fear, but because they wanted to make room for more voices. Earth was becoming human again. Not better, not stronger, but real. Then one night, something unexpected happened. The clear stone began to glow. Not brightly, not loudly, just a pulse like a heartbeat. Aaron gathered the team. They stood together in the lab, watching the soft light. It wasn't a message, it was an invitation. But this time, it had no words, just the rhythm of something alive. Aaron smiled. They're still out there, but they're waiting. Naya looked at the others. Maybe one day we'll say yes. Dr. Keto nodded. Or maybe we'll send our own invitation. Aaron walked to the window and looked at the stars. Whatever we do next, it will be because we choose it. And in that moment, the Earth spun quietly through the universe, not controlled, not disconnected, but fully awake. Somewhere out in the galaxy, the network still listened, but Earth had taught it something new. Not all questions need fast answers. Not all peace needs to be perfect, and not all silence means fear. Sometimes, silence means strength, and sometimes it means freedom.